Welcome back to Prof E Plays. I'm Prof E, and we are picking up here playing some more Cepheus Universal with the story of Wilbur Orla. This should be like, I feel like there should be a name for this. It's not just like the story of Wilbur Orla. Like that works if it's an S, but the woes of Wilbur Orla, yeah, probably not. But maybe we'll see. At the moment, he's not doing real well. So in any case, I believe we are in episode 5 or 6. It's something along those lines. Yeah, I think it's actually episode 6. And in any case, so, I can probably count because we did character, friend, starting world, patron, mission, machine, big NPC. So we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's episode 6. Anyway, right. So last time we made our big NPC, that is our villain, nemesis, whatever. A person by the name of Emerson Bryant, if I recall correctly. Do I recall correctly? I don't know. I don't trust myself. So let's see. There's Hazel's stuff. 147, of course. There's Tannis. Emerson Bryant is correct. Awesome. Right. Who we know is a hunter. And he apparently was abandoned right by his parents who are in hiding. He has some kind of unusual training as a powerful friend. His goal ultimately is to find his missing parents, but in the meantime, he is a hunter engaged in hunting activity where he doesn't particularly care about the ethics of it at all or the legality of any of what he's doing. We know he's a hunter of useful and rare animals for corporate and wealthy clients, no concern for legality, and he had some kind of shadow organization that does this, so he is not alone. He is, in fact, working with others. Right? So, that is what we know about him. Meanwhile, our trio of Wilbur, Garrett, who I need to call Mr. Perfect, right, and Hazel Perrin, the three of them are here on the planet of Tanis, where they have been for a little while. We don't really know a whole lot about why they're here, but this is where they are. Okay, so what we're following the playing solo Classic Traveler, even though we're not technically doing Classic Traveler, uh, Cepheus Universal is very much built on a similar engine, so I am using this as a guide. And this also comes from, you can see down here, right, Zozer Games, Paul Elliott, who wrote Cepheus Universal. Okay, so all of that said, as I say pretty much every time. So the next step, according to this, so after you have made your big NPC, is to do 2 or 3 more patron missions. So it says create 2 or 3 more patrons and their missions, use the mission machine to determine success or failure, and then remember to keep an account of player characters' upkeeps and costs and all that, purchase of any equipment and the like. Also roll for law level encounters every week or so. Also every week roll on the relevant encounter table. Right, so at this point, just so you know where we are, so when we last dealt with our people, right, we had only finished basically the first day of in-game time. The problem, though, is that Wilbur sustained injuries in the last mission. It's not anything that he can't recover from naturally. It's just going to take a few days, right? So he effectively lost the equivalent of 5 hit points, if we want to use kind of hit point terminology. Um, where his endurance normally is 4 got knocked down to 0, and his strength normally 5 got knocked down to 4 is the way that would work. So the way that healing works in Cepheus Universal is that you have various healing rates depending on kind of your level of activity. Uh, so I'm going to say that Wilbur's going to take some time off, right, which means his healing rate is going to be 3 plus uh, his endurance die modifier, which when he's sitting at 0 is a -2. So he's only going to recover 1 point per day at first until he can get that endurance up to a level of 3. So it takes 3 days to do that. Right? Then he still has 2 more points of healing, which he can heal all in one day. Right? So total 4 days is where we are. So 4 days have gone by. So we're now on day 5. Also, I did not yet have them pay anything for upkeep costs, so I'm going to do that. I decided the way that the costs are laid out, the cost of living here, if we pay monthly, it's 1,000 credits per person. So I decided to just go ahead and do that. Now, unfortunately, Hazel is very poor. She only had 800 credits. So I decided Wilbur's going to go ahead and front the money for her. Right. So Wilbur has paid 2,000 because he had a bunch of cash, and then Garrett paid his 1,000. So we're okay. We're ready to take on another mission. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we are at day 5 right now. Let's go ahead and roll on the mission machine, see what comes up next. So what kind of patron mission do we have here? Okay, so rolling our 2d6 here, I'm going to say numbers before spots. Right, so our patron here is going to be 3, 2. Okay, so 32 is an Avenger. Okay, so just mark this down. Patron Avenger. All right, and what's the mission? 6-1. The mission is transport person. Okay, and what about the target? 6-6. This would be a roll on patron table. So I need to roll again on patron table. 1, 2. Reporter. Okay, so I need to think about this Avenger. Right. So one thing, I want to give the person a name, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull up my random name generator online. So we're going to have two people involved, right? So one is the patron who's an adventurer. The other one is we have to transport this reporter somewhere, right? So let's go ahead and see if we can get two names for people. So I'm just going to look for a random name generator, not a random word generator. Random name generator. That's the joy of recording on my laptop is you get to watch me click on stuff. All right, let's do. Here we go. Hmm. I have a list of names here. Zainabu Nanos. Yeah, let's do that one. So the Avenger is Zainabu Nanos. And our reporter is, yeah, we'll go with Clotho Raymond. Right. So we have the two of them. Right. And Zainabu, no. So what? So Avenger. So what is it and why do they need to get the reporter somewhere? That's what we need to think about. Okay. So it's not immediately obvious to me, but let's think a little bit about Tanis. So we know that Tanis is a, largely a tourist planet for wealthy tourists. Okay, so the elements we have. Okay, so we have Tanis for wealthy tourists. Right, it's that kind of planet. It's a fairly rich planet, not industrial. And we also have another element being our hunter, Emerson Bryant, right, who may possibly play into here at some point. Right. So what I'm thinking the Zainabo Nonos very well could have been because I want to try to have this be as positive as possible. So Zainabo Nonos, and we've done the animal researcher thing before, so I hesitate to do that again. Um, Avenger. So what are they trying to avenge? I mean, okay, or maybe what it is that they are they're themselves wealthy, yes. They had some kind of exotic pet that was stolen or killed potentially. That seems like a possibility, right? So it's kind of the flip of what happened last time, right? So last time we had right a a wealthy villain that had stolen an animal right from researchers. So now maybe it's you know this wealthy person had their animal hunted or something. Yeah, I think we want to go something like that. So the purpose here in transporting the person, the reporter, right, is that we want them, right, to be able to get some information, right, about Brian's. organization. I think that makes some degree of sense, right? So I think that's ultimately what the goal is, right? So I think that makes some sense to me. So we need to come up with a plan, right? Right. So really, all we have to do, we're just in charge of transportation. And we just have to get, right, the reporter there, right? So that's something that is potentially going to be dangerous. So I mean, then the obvious thing is we're just going to be kind of driving them to the location where they need to be. So what kind of problems might we have along the way? I mean, sensibly, we might possibly end up followed, attacked, something like that. So that's what I'm thinking we're going to do. So remember, we just kind of have this sketchy idea. So I think that it makes sense. One, we're going to have some degree of maybe like navigation or something like that. This isn't like astral navigation or something or anything along those lines, but it's going to be navigating through the city, right? So operating vehicles. Do we have a vehicle? I think we have somebody here has some vehicle ability. A ground vehicle, cool. All right, so ground vehicle. Oh, yeah, I think that makes sense. So ground vehicle is one. So Garrett can do that. Navigation is something that Hazel can do. And then what is Wilbur providing? Oh, I mean, he could just provide leadership. That is a possibility, right? So we don't have anybody else. So yeah, we're just going to say leader for Wilbur. Okay, and remember the way that mission machine works as we work our way through it, right? So we start out it's really kind of abstracted, right? Um, and then we find out how each element went and put it all together to come up with a result for what this is going to be. All right, cool. Okay, so this is something that's not going to take too long, so I think it makes sense they would get paid, say, 800 a piece, right, for this. Yeah. All right. So let's see what is going to happen. So we have a plan, very straightforward. I don't think that here we're obviously not expecting any combat or anything like that, but we might possibly be chased or something along those lines. So up to three of the player characters may make a skill roll relevant to the mission. So let's see. All right. So remember, these are all going for 8. So navigation first. Get a +3 on this one. That one failed because 4 + 3 is not 8, right? So that's a fail. Ground vehicles at a +1, so we're as we're navigating through, we're not really making our way through this city very efficiently. Oh, good, good. But on the other hand, we are driving well, so it is hard for people to follow us. I think makes sense. And then Wilbur just being as encouraging as he can be. Right. Oh, also wonderful. Right. So we succeeded twice, only failed once. This is great. So let's go ahead and roll to succeed. So you need to roll 2d6. You need 7 or higher to complete the mission goal. And we get a +1 for each successful skill roll. So we get a +2 on this. Okay. And we're going for 7 or higher. 5 + 2 is a 7. So barely, but yes. So mission success. So we know that that is where we're going to end up. Now, the next thing is, are there any consequences? Well, we do have a failed skill roll, which means there will be some kind of consequence as a result of that. And it's number 4. Number 4 says the authorities intervene. All right. So, okay. So, the complication or consequence, authorities intervene. Now, how severe that is depends on what the law level is. And if you recall, and I'm going to double check just to make sure that I'm not remembering this wrong. Oh, no, I was remembering it right. The law level here on Tanis is quite high. So remember, this can be ranked. There are a number of numbers it could be, but 11 is what we end up with. So if I roll at or below an 11, there's going to be some kind of run-in, right, with the police or the law enforcement, which I believe on this planet, do we say it's peacekeepers or something like that? That might have been the previous. I think that was actually the previous. Yeah. Yeah, where I was making factions and stuff. I don't think I have factions in this game. Right, so yeah, so that's the deal here is that we're going to be having a run-in, right, with law enforcement in some way. Right, so now last step in the mission machine is to explain. So whether success or failure, player now has the enjoyable task of explaining what happened. What piece of equipment was lost? What happened when the hero failed his vac suit roll? And that's not what we had, but you get the idea. What did the bad guys do, and how was the situation resolved in the end? Two or three short sentences will suffice. Players advised to write them down. So, so here's what I'm thinking. Right? I'm not actually thinking that much. I'm saying here's what I'm thinking to buy time. It's the truth. Okay. So this is all mission number 2. I think I'm going to do a total of 4 missions before we move into the next step of playing solo classic traveler. So, Zanaba, sure. Nonos, some Clotho Raymond, right? We are escorting, right, through the city. Now, I would note we don't actually own a vehicle. So I assume then we are using. I mean, okay. If Xanabu is Xanaba, ba. I'm gonna make it an A. Okay. If Xanaba is wealthy, I mean, I assume that they would have a vehicle available. So we're really just there, right, to provide the manpower. Why are they not using their own people? We're available. Sure. That's fine. Right. So now, as we travel right through the city, right to Tanis City on the planet of Tanis, because I don't want to come up with an additional name, we do get somewhat lost. Hazel kind of loses her way, right? And I think that the way that we're driving, right, does catch the attention, right, of law enforcement. So, question is, right, the authorities are intervening in some way. Now, the obvious thing here to me would be something like a speeding ticket or something along these lines, right? So I think that that might be the kind of thing we'd be dealing with here. So the question is, do we want to try to bribe them to get out of this? Right? Maybe. Uh, let's check something here. All right. So I'm curious, right? How big bribes would have to be, right, to actually like make a difference here? I don't actually know. Okay, so let's check out our skills here. Skills. I know we have a skill list here somewhere, don't we? Maybe 46. There it is. 46 is before 61. Yeah, you can never tell that I teach in a quantitative field, would you? Okay, so what we know about bribery is offering bribes to circumvent local law or to influence someone's decision. Cash bribe must be appropriate to the situation. So it's not really giving us a whole lot of guidance in terms of what this bribe would have to look like to really be considered acceptable. And nor am I seeing a lot in terms of kind of payment for services or anything like that. So it very well might be that it's in here somewhere and I'm just not seeing it. Which I mean, hey, I don't always see everything that happens. Okay. Yeah. So the question is, do I want to try to bribe them? And that would be an additional role, and that'd be something could go well, could go very badly. In any case, I think we are going to have to pay in some fashion. Right. So I think like if we're just talking about a speeding ticket or something like that, this type of law enforcement, maybe what I'm going to do is say, oh, it's very straightforward. Right. Why don't we just roll dice, multiply by 100, right? That's how much we'd have to pay. So we just have a fine we have to pay for you driving erratically or running stoplights, the equivalent of this. Right, so we are having to pay. Oh, it's not bad at all. $300, $300, 300. I'm an American. 300 credit fine, which Wilbur can easily pay out of his cash. All right. So authorities intervene, right? We do have a 300 credit fine levied against us. And I think that would get us through that day. So now we would be at day 6. Okay. So what I think I want to do now, right, because you're heading toward the end of the week, I want to go ahead and roll my random encounters, right? So just to see if there's anything here that would necessarily result in something happening. All right, so first thing, um, okay, I'm going to go ahead and roll against law level. So remember, 11 and lower, there's going to be some kind of interaction with law enforcement. A 7, yes, we will have an interaction with law enforcement. Uh, so I'm just going to say legal encounter. Now, because we haven't really done much that's suspicious. I mean, oh, is Hazel carrying her weapon around? Because that could be a problem. Or Garrett's carrying his. Oh, yeah, Garrett. Yeah, I think Garrett definitely could be. Hazel. Oh no, Hazel doesn't have a weapon. Okay, right, no, no, it's Garrett. Garrett is the one that might possibly be carrying a weapon around. Um, that is the one thing that I can think of that might be a problem, right? So, okay, but would we be dumb enough to do that? I don't think so. Like Garrett's fairly intelligent as far as that goes. Yeah, intelligence is 7, so he's average intelligence. He knows what the law is like. So I think it's just going to be like I don't think it's anything particularly serious as far as this goes, but we are clearly on their radar as far as that goes. So I'm just gonna say, right, it's just in fact like checking of papers, that kind of thing, right? So checking papers. We haven't done anything nefarious at this point, right? Okay, so that's good. Also then a city encounter, 2d6. 11 indicates there's an accident. Oh dear. Well, okay. So I guess we're gonna do this now. So there was an accident of some kind. So what is this accident? The most obvious thing, I mean, it feels like, I want to combine the two, right? The legal encounter or the law encounter and the accident should overlap. This makes perfect sense. So the question now, because he's our driver, I'm going to assume that Garrett was driving somewhere. We're just doing like basic stuff. This is how accidents will often happen, right? Right. So I think yeah, he's just doing basic stuff. And the question is, did he cause the accident, right? Or are we victims in this accident? Because that could definitely affect some things and how the next step goes. Right. So let's see. Okay. So we've got 6, add 1 to it, 7. That would be a failure. Right, so it looks like Garrett caused this accident. So that means we probably have additional fines we need to pay. Right, how much are these fines? Not terrible, another 800 that needs to be paid. I'm gonna make Garrett pay that one. Actually, you know what? I haven't written down our 800 that we just got paid, so that's where his 800 goes. That's it. And the other two get their 800. Now, the next question in my mind is I'm wondering whether somebody was hurt in this accident. Because it's possible. I'm not going to rule that out. So let's just see. Was somebody hurt in this accident? I'm just going to roll a d6 here. A 1 through 3, the answer is yes. 4 through 6, the answer is no. 6, the answer is no. Good. Right. So there was an accident. Some damage was done. We had to pay a fine, but I think that on the whole we're okay. Right. So that's where we are at the moment. So this accident. I'm just going to mark here. Everyone's okay. Okay, and then we will be getting into the next week, next time. So I'm going to do 2 more missions prior to doing the next step, just so you know kind of where we're going. So that was mission number 2 for this group. We're going to do mission number 3, then mission number 4. That's the way counting works. Right? And then the next step will be creating the subsector and the capital, which I think it makes sense to me that we are going to kind of do all of that combined. Okay, okay, and then we need to make our way to the capital would be the next step. Okay. All right, so that's where we're heading, but not yet. For now, this is Prof E signing off.